What is up, people? Welcome to another episode of Kicking Back with Chris. And for episode 3, the guy that's kicking back with us today, as you can see, is the host of the Rambling Alcoholics, also known as Whiskey J, formerly known as Jaime.
That's right. Also the cult leader.
I was about to say, and don't fuck with him because he's the cult leader. And just recently, literally like 24 hours ago, I was named and certificated as an elder of the Cult of Ramble. I won the guest of the year, so I was like, how perfect timing would it be to get him on? I was like, it's perfect time. It came in perfect. And then what's crazy is, before we jump into this, but for obviously, thanks for jumping on, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
What's crazy is Jaime dropped off, my care package / prize. And I legit, and just to give you guys a heads up, if you guys hear any noise, there's some shit going on in the house, but don't pay any mind to it. So, as I was saying, there was a box right in front of right on the porch, and I was like, damn, like I legit thought it wasn't going to be like as much as you guys got. There was like 10 beers, a big ass bottle of wine, bottle of whiskey. I was like, oh my God. I was like, whose dick did I suck to get all this shit?
That's the DMs I got when you posted it up. Like, hey, yo, you have to suck your dick for all this shit? I'm like, yo, you just have to come on the show and find out what you need to get that. How do you need to get that package? But nah,
exactly.
But like I said, man, when you showed up here and I said the winner is gonna get this, I think a lot of people thought we were bullshitting about it. Like, you ain't gonna give them that. No, we go through the Rambling honor code. If we say it, we're gonna do it. And like I said, bottle of whiskey, bottle of wine, and Escaleto went fall out with the beer. He's like, nah, let's get them all this right here. These guys like to drink. And so all the beer stuff was Escaleto thinking about the whole crew of Kickback. I can't just get them 4. This 4 is all for Chris.
Well, I'm drinking one right now. Oh, right here. There you go.
Yeah, I'm drinking this one tonight. Drinking some one on the night today. Where is it? Right there. Boom. Some Famosa.
Damn.
Drinking that shit right now. Wow. I just got off work like an hour ago, so I'm like, busting.
It was funny when I posted the picture and all that stuff, and even the video of me like showing everybody what I got. My co-hosts, like pretty much, Abe, Louie, Jesse, even Jay was like, "Hey man, we're gonna get fucked up on Saturday, huh? For this Conor McGregor fight." I was like, "Fuck it!" I was like, "Rambling Alcoholics paying for Saturday." I was like, hell yeah. I was like, we're going to get crazy. We're going to drink the wine. We're going to just go nuts.
Hey, the wine is good, man. I've gotten fucked up with Mr. Lou on many episodes with that wine specifically. Is some good as wine. Chill it first, an hour before, and drink it. It's just good.
Oh, yeah. I still can't believe the first time when you guys were on the Kickback, when Mr. Lou got a bottle of wine. You guys had the beer that you guys like to drink. We had beer here. And literally, I think it was almost 3 hours that we were just talking, and just he had a whole bottle of wine, and just little by little, just pouring away. And as we're talking, hanging out, in the back of my mind, I'm looking at him like, is he gonna drink the whole fucking bottle right now? And sure enough, within 2 hours, he killed the fucking bottle of wine, and it was done. And for to his credit, he was still able to walk out just fine. He didn't really get too fucking. Obviously, you drink a bottle of wine, you're gonna be a little buzzed, which he was. But at the same time, he wasn't like, "Oh my God, I can get this guy out of my house." It was very impressive to see.
I think Mr. Lou's tolerance for wine has grown as the older he gets. He's been drinking wines, I think, probably since mid-30s. Man's gonna be 50 this year, so he's been drinking a lot of wines. I think his body. We always joke with him. His blood is not even blood anymore; it's just red wine. Not much wine. With him, the ritual is he'll bring a bottle of wine. He'll bring his favorite. He'll bring a beer for us to taste. Which is tribute to the cult leader myself, and that's always been the ritual. And he'll bound. And I'm always surprised too. Same like you, and I've known him for years. That he'll pound the whole bottle by himself. Like he'll give me a sip here. But he kills that bottle by himself. And then afterwards, while we're editing the show, he'll still smack another 4-pack of beer with me, and he's still good to go.
It's impressive.
That's very impressive.
Yeah.
That's borderline alcoholism, but it's impressive, none the least.
Yeah,
None
I
the
was
least.
gonna say, you put those back. You could put a whole bottle and some beer back. That means you have some experience.
Oh yeah. No, I can't do that. I'm not in that level. I can do it with whiskey. If I, I've done it before where I've mixed whiskey, wine, and beer. And I mean, if you don't believe me, listen to that Instagram live episode I did with you. I was already fucked up by like the first hour. So
Oh, dude, that was
that's when I mixed all three.
that was hilarious. I'll never. But behind the scenes of that episode, Jaime texts me, "Hey, bro, you can end the podcast whenever you want." And that's when I knew. I was like, "Oh, this guy's a little too drunk. I'm sure he wants to end." I was like, "But nope, we're gonna go another 45 minutes, and
Yeah.
we're gonna see how this shit goes." And sure enough, we were just. I was a little buzzed because I just kept. I was like, I'll have one beer like for this episode. But
And,
sure enough, like, Mr. Lou's drinking his stuff, you guys were drinking your stuff, and I was like, fuck, I gotta keep up with these guys. And I look at my fridge the next morning, I was like, oh fuck, I drank all the beer.
I think anybody who's showed up here with us, it's never just one beer. Boom Boom when they first showed up here to the Ramble Studios, they had just bought like a little like 12-pack of Coronas. We pounded that out and we finished up like another 12-pack of like Modelos plus whatever craft beers we had in the back. And
Yeah.
these guys were like, "Yo, shit! Like we were planning to just show up here with 12. Like, dude, we're having fun, but at the same time, we're entertaining the folks who listen to these episodes. So anybody that shows up, you're not just showing up to have one beer. I mean, you're more than welcome to, but I mean, I think
Mhm.
the allure of our show is that you get into the moment of like, oh, you forget that you're having a beer and or two or three or six or 10. You forget all that because you're so entertained with what's going on in the conversations. You want to voice your opinions in the conversations, so you just forget that you're drinking. By the time you get up is when you realize like, oh shit, I actually drank that much.
What was crazy was when the first time I went to do your podcast, yeah, because I've done it twice.
Yes.
The first time I remember you guys had, all your beer, and you guys legit just like every time I finished the last sip, you're like, oh, you gotta try this beer now. I was like, oh fuck. All right, I'm drinking it. Sure enough, at the moment I'm like, the last drop hits my lip. You're like, oh, you gotta try this one now. I was like, Jesus Christ, how many of these fucking things do you guys have? But at the same time, I was like, oh man, this is awesome. So yeah, you guys do know how to be great hosts. And it was even the second time. I was like, second time I brought some beer. Then you guys showed me. Damn, what kind of beer was that? I forgot what country it was.
Was it the one that Mr. Lou brought, the shitty peanut butter one that we were all like, we gotta pour that shit out because
No, I
that shit don't
tasted
work here.
it. Yeah, I tried it. It wasn't that great, but it was the beer that Esqueleto gave me. I think you said it was like from what country? Venezuela or something? I think
It was either this one or the Salvadorian one, the Regia.
the Salvadorian one. Yes,
Okay,
that one was that one was pretty good.
Yeah, the Salvi one. That one's our next go-to one. I don't have it in the cooler tonight. But yeah, that one's always our go-to. Like if we can't find a beer, like I said, Mr. Lou's always in charge of bringing kind of like the starter beer. It's kind of like the kickoff beer we do before. Like that's usually the beer that when people watch pregame Ramble on Instagram, that's usually the beer we're drinking to get us started into the show. So when we don't have anything, like we can't find nothing, I can't find anything, then Regia or Gallo or sorry, Famosa is usually the beer of choice for here the show.
Nice, and it's funny because every podcast I've noticed has like their own little ritual or like how they do things, and I think that's what's cool about podcasting is that there's just so many different ways you could do it. Like you could be super professional about everything and like, all right, we're not drinking and we're not smoking and we're not this or that. But at the same time, you could have a lot of fun and be like us, where I'm about to do your podcast and I'm outside my car finishing my joint and I'm like, all right, ready to go. Like let's get this high going and get this podcast going.
I forgot to put it in there and I found it today. But when I left today in the morning to work, I was gonna put a joint in your package.
Oh, I would have smoked the shit out of that. You know what's crazy? And everyone who follows us or listens to us, they know that I had COVID, and what's crazy is that I haven't smoked in maybe since like the beginning of December.
So you
So
got
it's been
baby
a
bro.
while. It's been a while. Yeah, definitely do.
You probably
And
got baby.
then drinking. I the last time I ever hung out with the guys was like in December, like the very first week of December.
Mm.
And then I had stopped drinking. And then the first time I had a beer was maybe like last week. And I was like, oh, tastes so good.
So you bought your liver like an extra 2 years by not drinking in those couple weeks.
Pretty much. And believe it or not, I don't, as much as like we promote like beer and all that other
Mm.
stuff, I don't drink that much. Like I only drink on the podcast or when the guys come over because we're watching, a Laker game, a
Mm.
fight, or whatever, or we're just hanging out. But and that's maybe I could say at the most maybe 3 times a week. I'll be drinking or smoking, but that's like the high end.
Okay.
Yeah, usually it'll be like at least once a week,
I
but
don't. I
other than
don't
that,
drink.
it's not that bad.
I mean, with me, like it's. I think people are always shocked when I don't drink until Fridays, unless I'm doing a show like tonight, like today. I'm doing with you. Have to like I feel like okay, I have to drink at least a beer because I mean it's gonna be like either it's whiskey or a beer. I have to bring it to the table when I do a podcast, which is very rare. I like the. Yeah, I think people who follow us know it's very rare that we do other podcasts. Kickback has always been the number one go to for exclusives. So I'll give you the I always give you the exclusives, Chris. But I always have to. I feel like I have to drink. But anybody that knows me, I live like a clean life Monday to Thursday. Clean life, keto, just water, greens. That's it for 4 days, and then Friday I go balls.
Oh,
And then Friday I just go balls Mahoney, and just drink all as much as beer as I can handle, and a couple shots of whiskey here and there. And that's what I do. And then Saturday,
nice.
Saturday, depending on the situation, like if I got family over or if Escaleto's like, hey, I want to watch Connor fight, then I'll have a couple beers with him. Other than that, Fridays when I just go full Bulls Mahoney.
I like it, and I'm kind of the same way, especially before the pandemic. I was obviously working at a school, so I couldn't really like get all fucked up during the middle of the week because sure enough, 8 o'clock in the morning, I have like 50, third graders or fourth graders staring at me. I'm like, hell no, man, I can't do that. I can't get super
like,
faded or
like my dad.
exactly. And thankfully, I've never gotten that before because there's been maybe 1 or 2 times where it's like Thursday night. It's like, oh, they have those, bars have those deals like Thursday night where it's like,
what are bars?
Yeah, no kidding, huh? Now this is our own personal bar now. It's like fuck. It's crazy how that changes. It's like before it used to be like I think we were even talking about before the show. Before it used to just be like, oh, where are we going this weekend? Oh, what bar are we going to? Oh, we're going to downtown Fullerton. Oh, we're gonna go to downtown LA. We're gonna go to, uptown Whittier. We're gonna go here. We're gonna go every weekend with something different. And then now it's like, all right, this weekend we know we're going to, the garage right here where we do the show. But now instead of experimenting different locations, we're experimenting like, oh, different beer, different sometimes, hey, different weed, different this, different that. Like, so now it's changed from different bars and locations to like actually trying new shit, which is, it's pretty cool.
I feel it's more safer. What would you say? Like the fact that you don't have to be hopping around from bar to bar. Yeah, we have Uber, we have Lyft, but sometimes you got that one, que se cree bien chingón. They'll be like, nah, I can drive, dog. I can handle my liquor, son.
Yep.
You have there's always one in the group. There's always one in the group. And sadly, that's usually me once in a while. I'll be like, I got this. To now, like, hey, Mr. Lua, you bring the beer, Esqueleto, you bring this, and we all just chill out here. And that's basically, you're safer in one single place because if you're comfortable, you can just crash on the couch. And that's usually the case with us. Show it up, shoot the shit, and at the end of the day, we're all like, they'll be crashing here at the end of the night. It's better than hopping from bar to bar. And believe me, I miss the bars. I miss the breweries, but I feel it's more safer doing it now. And maybe when everything goes away, am I going to go back to doing it where we do it at my house? Or are we going to go back to just hopping bars and breweries? I'm going to go back to hopping bars and breweries because no offense, I really don't like cleaning up after the mess.
Yeah, that's the one thing. It's like you're so drunk and fit the next morning, you're like, oh, look at all these cans. That's why I tell the guys like, hey man, hey, before you go, help me clean this shit up because I do not want to wake up in the morning. And we'll do that vice versa. Like let's say we're hanging out at Jesse's house. before I leave, I'm like, all right, let me help you clean up before, because I was like, you know, that feeling of like waking up the next day and you're like, fuck. Then the last thing I want to do is be cleaning up bottles, or the one that pisses me off is seeing an open can and it's still like full.
That's a sin over here.
I'm like, oh my god, whose dick do I need to chop off that just left their beer like that?
Now that's a sin in this house, and then here in the Ramble Ranch, that's a sin. Like you don't leave a beer. If you open it, you got to finish it.
Oh yeah,
Or one of us has to be the designated drinker with you. But you don't leave the beer just hanging there. That's a sin. You know how many people would you know how many alcoholics bums are right there in the corner waiting for someone to buy them a 40 ounce, and you're gonna leave a beer there on the table? No, come on, bro. One
that's
beer,
what.
feed a
Yeah,
homeless man.
exactly. And just to get into a little bit of the podcast, how is the podcast going for you guys? I know we talk whether it's like messaging or Instagram or whatever, but for you guys, has the because obviously going into the pandemic, everyone decided, oh, let's do a podcast, let's do this, let's start one, and you guys have been doing it for the past couple of years now,
Oh.
before a pandemic started, and how are you guys gauging all these podcasts popping up? Because every day I look at the Instagram and I'm like, oh, so and so podcast is following you now, and I'll click it and it's like, oh, they just started. That's cool. But how is that? How has the pandemic been going for you guys since it's kind of there's more people, like there's more people in the pond now. There's more fishes in the pond.
I kind of like think about it as like the renaissance of like indie podcasting. And to me, it's like the renaissance. Like there's always something new. There's always something for you to listen to. There's not, like if you don't like my show, you might like Kickback. If you don't like Kickback, you might like so and so show or so and so. Like there's so many. It's like Baskin Robbins. There's so many flavors. You're gonna find something you're gonna like.
Exactly.
And I like it. I like it. I've had nothing but good experiences with these new up and coming podcasts who are coming in, and I'll say this: they ask questions. Like if they'll look at you and be like, I don't know if that's happened with you, Chris, but I've had a couple podcasts hit me up and be like, hey, how do I go about this? How do I go about that? And I'm like, bro, I'm learning the same as you. Let me give you the experience I've had so far, and this is what I did. Maybe you can tweak it and maybe do something with it where you get bigger or successful than I am. It doesn't matter. Here you go. And that's kind of like the mentality of 2020 with whole COVID was, like as many people know, 2020 was supposed to be the last year for the show. It was only until COVID hit that we saw the resurgence of fans listening, of more listeners. I'm sorry, listening to the show, and we're like, oh shit, people actually like what we're doing. And then of course the network started, so it gave me more motive. It gave me a new lease on podcast life, I guess you could say. So to me, 2020 was even though it was a bad year for everybody who lost family members or got caught with the COVID, as a podcast standpoint, it was actually the best year for us. We got the highest downloads I think we didn't ever think we were gonna get. We got listeners like all over the country that we didn't even think we had, even in like everywhere. And I met more interesting people last year via Zoom interviews, through chatting with them on messengers, that I don't think I would have met. And some of them became friends, and some of them are colleague podcasters. So that's kind of overall how I see it. But to your general question about the indie podcast thing, I like it. I mean, like I said, I like it. There's so many podcasts out there. You might like it. I think the one I noticed the most, and maybe because I'm a fan of it, professional wrestling. I saw like a bunch of professional wrestling podcasts pop up, and I love it. I like hearing people's different opinions about professional wrestling. I noticed that the most. And same thing, female podcasts. I don't know if I'm just ignorant to it, but I noticed there's more female podcasters than I think there was when I first started. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, even your fans, if I'm wrong, correct me on it. I feel there's more female podcasters.
Yeah, you're on. I'm kind of on the same ballpark as you. Is like maybe I was ignorant to the whole thing, or maybe I wasn't really paying attention or looking. Mm-hmm. But there are a lot more female podcasts, which is cool, because when you have a pool full of guys, mm-hmm. you're eventually gonna get the same perspective every now and then. but it's good to see that, you know, girls are going out there and sharing their side of the story now, where it's like guys have always discussed their point of views on relationships, their point of views on life, their point of views on the opposite sex, women. And now finally you have a ton of these female podcasts that embrace everything that guys talk about, but they flip the switch and say, okay, there's your side, but this is our side, and this is how it really is, or this is how we really see it. This isn't what Joe Schmo thought how it went down because he thinks he has a big dick. Nah, this is how it really went down. He was like, you know, he was a limp dick, had nut, and that's what's crazy to me is seeing all these girls who like they don't beat around the bush. They're like, no, he had a fucking a pencil dick, or he had this, and I was thinking about that, or you know, during sex it's this or that. I'm like, oh my god, it's too truthful here. It's too much.
And it not only the truth, but it's also refreshing to get the other side version of it. Like, for example, like, you know, I'll plug it, Lady Instincts. You know, that's something that's on the network. I love the concept when, you know, Cass told me about it. It's our version of what you guys do, except, you know, a little bit classier because they're ladies. But also the stuff they get into, like if you listen to the show, they get into like relationship, body positivity, body shaming, all this shit. You get a perspective that I don't think a man can read about it. A man can think they can relate to a woman. It's not until you hear the woman's in-depth story behind some stuff that we probably say that we didn't think offended them, and you hear out of their own voice, you hear their sincerity that comes out of them, do you realize like, shit, I didn't know that my actions affect a woman that way. And then when I mean my actions, I don't mean I mean overall men in general, like stuff like that. So I like it. Like I said, to me, it's like I go back to it. It's like a renaissance of podcasting. You got all these podcasts in 2020 that just came out. Some of them are starting to fizzle down, and some of them are starting to, you know, rise up. That's what I'm looking at it right now, because I think I think was it around November, December. I noticed some of the ones that were following us, they stopped doing it. Some just don't stop doing it. So as I said, I think 2021, you're going to start noticing the ones that started in 2020 either are going to fade out, and the ones that are strong are going to rise up. And there's plenty that I've noticed so far.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I've had this conversation with Andy from Profile Pod that, you know, 2021, you're going to see the people who really enjoy podcasting continue doing it, because it's not something that they did because the pandemic and they were just at home bored out of their ass. It's because they like doing it. They enjoy it. They enjoy the conversations. They enjoy the interactions with listeners. They enjoy the interactions with other, you know, podcasters that have the same, you know, goals or feelings that they do about podcasting. Like, that's why I'm doing this, is because I want to talk to other podcasters that share the same feeling. And the first three listeners, you know, or the first three guests are people who do the podcast not just because, oh, it was a pandemic and, you know, I had nothing to do. No, I'm talking to people who are in it because they love it, they enjoy it, they're doing it because this is their thing. Like, that's what they like to do. Whether it's a hobby and they just really like the hobby and they do it because it brings joy to their life and they're never going to stop, or it's because that's something that they want to do to one day, you know, be a podcaster full time and get paid for it. It's a different. There's a whole scale of, you know, reasons why people do it, but I enjoy talking to the people who do it because that aren't going to stop. Like, I don't want to have someone on now and then look back come summertime. I'm like, oh, and there's no episodes up. There's nothing. There's no interactions. There's no posts. There's no episodes. That just means they weren't in it, which is fine, because anyone can start a podcast for any reason. But I just personally enjoy talking to the people who legit enjoy podcasting and they're not going to stop, you know, 2 months from now.
That's true. I agree. I agree on that. I mean, I think I used to use the word hobby a lot when I said, oh, this was a hobby for me when I first started it. I don't think it was. I don't think it's ever been a hobby for me. I think I've always known I was going to do something in the mic in front of me. You know, I tried rapping and I sucked, and I sold drugs instead. I'm not kidding. I tried rapping, I sucked, I ended up selling drugs instead. I always wanted to be a radio personality. I got a teacher that told me, yeah, that's not a career. Well, hey, at least I got a job at the moment, so and I'm making at least some sort of monetary compensation off of this show. But to me, that's not a hobby. I think a hobby would be like you can drop. I think to me, a hobby is when you can drop it, like you just said right now. In 2 months, if you're not going to just bring a podcast that in 2 months are just going to stop doing their show because guess what, the pandemic's over. You're having people that have been doing this for a long time that are dedicated. It's a lot of work to do a show, especially a show that has a large group like yourself and many other podcasts that have a group ensemble. It's a lot of work to get to rile up these guys and get them together to sit down and shoot the shit and try to at least be structured. And it's also hard work to self-promote yourself. To me, this isn't a hobby. A hobby to me would be building a toy car. I can stop doing that toy car anytime.
Yeah.
I can stop making model airplanes anytime and just leave it there and come back to it. Podcasting is a dedication where you got to come in, you got to give good content to the listeners, you got to promote it
every week.
Every week we got to come up with something new, some new catchphrase, It's a lot of work. I do it for fun. I love it. I still got the passion that I still do it for fun, and I think it still translates in my content where you can still tell that we're still having a good time. I think the time that any podcaster, any veteran podcaster stops putting out product is when they realize I got nothing and I'm not having fun doing this anymore. This is now becoming a job. I love what I do personally as a job. I don't know about like in my personal job, I love what I do. That's why I'm successful where I'm doing it, and I'm translating here in podcasting. I feel the level of success podcasting wise has to do with how much fun I'm having. I'm fucking having a blast.
Yeah, and like it's like I agree with what you said, and it's crazy to see other podcasts just stop, especially when they're good. Like there's some that I've listened to where I love it. And they're like, oh, they have a good feel, they have a good story, they have good chemistry or whatever, good topics, and they just stop. And I'm not gonna say that I'm one of those podcasters that listen to fucking 1,000 podcasts or listen to different podcasts like all the time. I'll be bullshitting you. Do I listen to every single one of your episodes? Not all the time, but I'm listening to them like, I'll be maybe 1 or 2 episodes behind, but I'm still listening to them. But I don't like go around 50 podcasts. I'm like, oh yeah, I listen to like all of those. There's like maybe 10, 15 because there's only 24 hours in a day, and most of the time I'm working or doing it. So I'm listening to a few, and the few that I listen to are the ones that I really like and I really enjoy, and the ones that I have on as guests. Like Profile Pod, I'm always listening to. Talking Again podcast that we had Fidel last week. You guys, I'm always listening to you, and that's who I enjoy having on. That's who I enjoy, picking their brain or stealing little things from. And that's what I wanted to get to is you were at that point where it's like, I think, we've gone as far as we can go.
Uh-huh.
And then, Mr. Lou and Escalado come along where, I don't know, it was just a different feel where I don't know if it was like a switch or something, but you can legitimately tell like there was a difference when it comes to your episodes. Like if you listen early on to maybe the first 10 to the teens to the 20s to the 50 to 100, there was it. You can see the progression, and then there was just a moment. I don't know exactly what episode, but there was a moment where it was just like, bam, like, all right, we found ourselves. We found what we like to do. We're not trying to copy anyone else anymore. You know what? Fuck it. Let's just be us and see what happens. And then I feel like that's what switched to the point where you're getting the results that you want to get, which is more listeners, more followers, more people enjoying it, because you're not copying or you're not trying to be somebody you're not. You guys are just three family members, right? Who are legit like brothers, like best friends who, just want to shoot the shit and have fun. Whereas, you're not being fake. You're not being, someone else. You're being yourself.
Like you actually hear arguments in that show. There's actual arguments in our episodes. I feel I know people are going to roll their eyes, and especially long-term podcasters that think they have it set. It took us 77 episodes to actually figure out the formula. Nah, no shit, dude. Like originally, the original cast. I mean, besides Escaleto, who's always been the OG, was me, Escaleto, and TTB Chubbs. Who now we reconnected with him after like a 2-year hiatus he took from us. But it was always us three for like 77 episodes, and we never found our groove. Like if you actually watch the evolution of Rambling Alcoholics, or how people pronounce it, Rambling, it's we tried to become a beer podcast because that's what we saw that was interesting at the time. We're like, oh, we should do craft beer. So we dedicated 20 minutes to craft beer. And at the end of the day, like, to me, we started sounding like wine snobs. Like, have you ever been to a winery and you got the guy going, oh, it tastes so good, I can taste it.
And they're like,
yeah, like that wasn't us. So I'm like, okay, scratch that, let's get out of here. And we're like, well, we like geek stuff. And you start noticing we devolved into geek stuff. And at the end of the day, it was like, you can't fill 2 hours with geek stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it started the evolution. And then while that was happening behind the scenes, now people knew there was conflict between Escaleto and TTB Chubbs. And neither guy would confront each other. And I was usually the middle guy they would come to. So it was always me like, oh, don't worry, like, just come over, let's just have a couple beers. And it was me trying to steer the ship at the same time.
And hope no shit just pops off.
And it lasted as long as it did. And Mr. Lou and I connected, I think, at the tail end of TTB Chubbs' tenure with the show. And I told him, like, hey, do you mind covering for TTB Chubbs? Because he's starting to become unreliant at the moment because of his job and his beef with Escaleto. Do you mind coming over? And he's like, fuck it, dude. Like, I'm reconnecting with you. I love you. Let's do it. And I think it was like episode 78 or episode 80 that I realized, like, you know what? This dynamic works. I can work with this shit. And Mr. Lou, coming from a musicianal background, he knows how to work together with other people in a band. And he contributes. Not saying that Escaleto and TTB Chips didn't contribute. They do. Escaleto's the meme king of the Instagram page.
It's hilarious.
TTB Chubbs contributed with getting the beer together, but I needed someone to contribute to me content wise. What are we doing? He gave me his 2 cents, and we started evolving, and it was kind of like learning on the job with him, because for him, he's never done podcasting. He's a musician. You would think for a guy that's a musician used to playing in front of crowds, he would be a natural doing it. He wasn't, and I think it took him a while for us to mold him and get him into a point where we can get him how we got him now, how he is now. I'm sorry. So it took a while. So now, if you listen to, like I said, episode 1 to episode 77, you see the evolution of Rambling. And then moving forward, you start noticing like the rookie mistakes we started doing. And it was not until a certain situation that happened with us. Everybody knows it. Listen to episode 35 of Kickback, the manifesto, that we realized that, you know what? Fuck it. We're not going to be liked by everybody. Fuck it. You know what? People don't like us. All right, don't tune the fuck in. Like we come from the era of like George Carlin, Eddie Murphy, Richard Pryor. You don't like it? Tune the fuck out. You don't have to come listen to my shit. Guess what? There's other people that do like my shit then. And that's how we kind of molded in our content to people that aren't easily offended, aren't bitches about stuff. Like, you listen to the show, you're not easily offended. This is just ranting and rambling at its best, 100% pure rambling. And that's what you got now. It's basically 100% pure rambling.
Yep.
With a little bit of structure now. We're structured now. I think it took us a while to finally get, legit mics and an interface and headphones. It took us a while, but it's because of the fans we got it. It's because of the fans. We kept hearing people like, yo, you got to get better. You got to get better, because it's kind of hard to be hearing your shit. You're fucking up my ears.
Yeah, and that's the crazy part, is that the cliche thing is like, all you need is an iPhone and you hit record. Yeah, man, an iPhone's nice, but that's going to only get you so far, because there's going to come a time where new people, you're going to have your base fans, your base audience, your base listeners, that they could fucking hear you with a war going on in the background. They don't give a fuck. They just love you guys.
And we got them. We got those.
But there's going to come a time where maybe someone tags you in a post, or someone, listens to you from something else. They come and they listen, and they're like, what the fuck? Like, you can't hear shit, or it sounds bad, or the mic doesn't work, or I don't know, or there's construction going on or some shit. But yeah, like you never know who's listening, and you might have lost a listener because they enjoy it, but they just can't handle all the other shit that's going on or the bad quality of audio.
I had one bad comment on iTunes, which at that time hit me kind of like, damn, maybe we should change the sound. And Mr. Lou was like, man, fuck them. And I remember it said, I tried listening to your show, but I heard you guys eating chips and I tuned out. And I was like so heartbroken, like fuck.
Who the fuck was eating chips?
And I did. I texted, who the fuck was eating chips on the show? I was too drunk to remember. And Mr. was like, I think it was me. And I'm like, why? And I Snapchat the picture. I snapped the picture and I sent it to him. And he's like, man, fuck him. After all the shit that we say, he got offended by eating chips. Fuck him. We don't need him as a listener. We say far worse shit than eating chips on the show.
Good point.
And that's been the mentality of what we do. So now it's like when we hear someone go, you whack, like, okay, you think we're whack, but we got a fucking army that don't think we're fucking whack. We got an army that's listened to episode 1 where, the original mic of episode 1 was the desktop of this computer that I'm right now talking to you from. It was literally me and Escaleto leaning forward to the desktop talking in front of it for an hour and a half. And not knowing if this is going to be a hit.
And Escaleto doesn't speak that loud. So he had to get really close to that computer.
Yeah. So from going from episode 1 to now having these mics, it's the evolution, but still keeping the same attitude we've had. We're just evolving. We're always evolving. To me, it's like a musical band. They're not going to keep playing the same shit. Yeah, we have the greatest hits, but you have to evolve as a musician once in a while. You can't be still doing the same fucking shtick over and over again. You got to evolve somehow. The Beatles did it.
Yeah.
Now, name one Beatles song in the same album.
That's a good point.
Same thing with podcasting. You have to evolve yourself. You can't be doing the same shtick. Like from us, it was the level 1. We ran it to as far as we could. Now we're like in the whole, like right now, 2021, we're in the voyage of fuckery. We don't know where the fuck we're going to go. 2020 steered us some other way. Now 2021, where we're going? It's a voyage of fuckery. Like that's the evolution we're going. Like we're always evolving with the times. We're evolving as a podcast with the content. And I think listeners who are listening currently to the last 5 episodes are noticing the evolution we're going towards now.
Yeah, and it's funny because you talk about episode 1 and listening to that, and there's a lot of podcasts who go and say, "Oh no, don't listen to episode 1. Those were bad." I embrace those. I'm like, no, you fucking go listen to episode 1. You go listen to episode 2. And I remember titling those episodes "Embarrassing Stories," or they're little snippets of just like, hey, listen to that first one and then come listen to the we just dropped episode 70, and you're gonna be like, oh man, it's different, but it's a good different. It's like, oh man, look how much they're still doing the same shit, which is shooting the shit, talking, and having a good time, reminiscing and telling funny stories. But at the same time, you can hear how, no one's over talking or no one's doing this. So just little things like that just make something a little bit better. And I always embrace it. There's some podcasts that go and say, no, don't go and listen to those, but I enjoy those. But to kind of just piggyback off of what we're talking about, how at some point there's going to come a time where, maybe... And I've told this to my co-host, there's always a shelf life on everything. Mm. And as everyone knows, we used to have Jay as a host, and and things happen to the point where sometimes someone's gonna have to leave. Someone's gonna end up doing something different, or work, or relationships. Things happen. It's life. Mm-hmm. So the moment I started doing this with, my friends, I knew that there was a shelf life. I didn't know how many episodes were going to go. I don't know how many we're still going to go. We're at 70. Who knows how it could all stop tomorrow. We could all get in a humongous argument, a humongous fight, and we're done. But at the same time, that's what I enjoy. It's like, hey, I don't know how long this is going to go, but I'm enjoying the ride. And for you, you came close to that, but to that point of ending. Mm-hmm. So can you see yourself ever not podcasting anymore? Ever, just ending it? It's done. It's over. or maybe just stepping back and letting, Mr. Lou and Esqueleto handle everything. Where, like, do you ever see yourself ending the podcast, or you stopping podcasting in general?
Me personally, I think the only time I'm gonna take a break is when I do baby bonding time with my kids. Only time. Other than that, I'm gonna still podcast until the wheels fall off. That's speaking for myself in general. I know exclusive recent talk, Esqueleto's always doing something new. And the talk that we've had the last couple of weeks was, what happens if one of us leaves? What do we do? Do we replace you? Do we just keep going? And the answer has been, and we voted it in, because that's something we do here in the group, even though both guys were always credited, like, no, this is your show, this is your baby, you run the ship. I always confide to them and I always ask for their vote. We're not replacing nobody. Like, if I were to, like, one day wake up and said, fuck this whole podcast thing, I'm out, Mr. Luna Esqueleto would run the ship. I'd probably be in the background. I'd probably be there, supporting them as much as I can. But I don't see myself quitting anytime soon. I'm gonna still go, even if I need to do a solo act. And if, in case Mr. Lou and Esqueleto goes, yeah, we're done, I'm still gonna go. Esqueleto, we've already, with me, I like planning ahead. I like having contingency plans. So to answer your question, there's a contingency plan if Mr. Lou decides to want to, like, leave, which, if anybody who hears the show, Mr. Lou's never going to stop talking. So even in his deathbed, we're still going to do the fucking podcast with him. I know him. He'll be like, bring the mic, bring the laptop. I want to talk the last remaining breaths I have on the show.
And bring a bottle of wine.
And bring a bottle of wine, a Coppola preferably. Esqueleto more kind of like, I'll go wherever you go, bro. And
like, if you want to stop, we'll stop. If you want to keep going, we'll keep going.
But at the same time, he has, expressed kind of like a, hey, I might want to fall out. I might want to just, kick back for a bit, no pun intended. But I want to just kick back, like, is that cool? And I've always said, look, bro, like, you can, if you want to take some time out, that's cool with me. That's why, if you notice, we've done episodes, I think at the end of the year, where we did episodes without him, because, it gets tired, and not gets tiring. It gets very stressful to, like, dedicate a Friday night to do the show. Like, I know it's taken a strain on my personal marriage, where, like, I know my wife would love, well, because of COVID we can't, but I know if COVID wasn't there, it would have taken a strain in my marriage, where she knows that Friday nights are dedicated to the show. Same thing with Mr. Lou. He has soccer mom. Luckily enough, we are with people that are acceptive of
understanding
what we do, but at the same time, Esqueleto has had past relationship where they're not that accepting. So sometimes we have to be like, yo, kid, if you need to take some time off, we cool with it. And we run the ship between me and Mr. Lou. So if Esqueleto were one time decide to get married or move out of state or do whatever, we're prepared. We already have that plan with me and Mr. Lou, what we're going to do. Vice versa. If I were to decide to quit, I already have the plan for these guys, what to do with them, with the show. Whether it still be called Rambling, whether it be called whatever, we have something planned. We got something lined up. We're not going to deprive the fans who've actually dedicated 2.5 hours of their lives to listening to us, to be like, see ya, we're out of here. Thanks for buying our merch. Thank you for joining us in this ride of, hearing our personal stories. Fuck you. Goodbye. No, like, to me, I don't want to leave in that note. To me, I want to leave them something. And like I said, there's contingency plans for everything.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, the contingency is, me just taking over the whole thing and just taking over everything.
I was gonna sell the Rambling Network to Chris. That's the plan. I'm gonna sell the network to Chris. And Chris,
I already have the promo video. It's like the Rambling, and then it's just and it just turns into kickback.
You know what though? If there's anybody I would trust with it, it would be you. I would trust it. Like, if I would be like, I'm out. If you guys need, like, if this was like the mafia, and I would be like, when Don Corleone left, he didn't leave it to Fredo. He left it to Michael. You be my Michael. Like, I would leave the empire to you. Like, here you go, bro. Here's the Rambling Empire. Don't fuck it up, kid. But I mean, there's the empire.
That's funny. Yeah, it makes sense. Because like I said, I've had similar situations with you as you. With someone, having to leave the podcast, not because of, not because of, a fight or argument, but just because, life gets in the way and things have to, you have to prioritize certain thing. And when Jay told me that he couldn't do the show anymore, and it was crazy because he felt bad about it. He was like, I don't want you to be mad at me. I was like, no, I'll never be mad at you. Come on. but he was smart and got me super high before he told me. So that's good. If you ever want to break bad news to me, just get me super faded, and I'll be like, it's all right, man, it's cool. Like that's what he did to me. But as soon as he told me that, I immediately knew. I was like, oh well, I already know who I'm gonna get on. Like I already know who's gonna replace you. I'm gonna have Louie and Abe jump on because going into it and doing all these episodes, they started to become more interested in the podcast, and they were enjoying those conversations, those laughs, and I don't know if they kind of felt left out because it was us three friends doing it. And even though I gave them an opportunity when it happened, I shouted it out, who wants to do the kickback with me? Jesse and Jay were the only two that said yes. And then eventually they have that situation where like, oh man, I didn't know it was going to be that fun. So luckily they were able to join on. And I remember saying this going into it was, I want to do this podcast, the kickback, with them because I want to introduce my friends to everybody. Mm-hmm. Because I know exactly that when we're sitting down hanging out, there's tons of laughs to be had. And I was like, I want people to see it and I want people to enjoy it. And that's what we've had so far. So for you saying that, who knows where it can go, at least you're acknowledging that there is a possibility that who knows, you could stop doing it eventually. But at the same time, you're not going to leave your listeners or fans hanging or followers. You're going to at least leave them with something.
And that's me learning from what I did last year when and I think it was February where I was like, I think when we did episode 35, and I was going to be done with this shit. When we did Kickback episode 35, the manifesto, I even said to you, I was planning to quit. Like I was planning to leave. I was going to make 2020 the last year. I was going to do the last hurrah. And I was going to leave it to these guys, you want it. And they took me to the side afterwards when they heard when I said that. And a couple of days later, they thought about it. They're like, how are you going to leave us to the side, bro? Like, you weren't going to give us anything. We're like, I was going to leave you the show. And it was Mr. Lou who's always like, yo, we got to have something planned. Like, if you have these thoughts, you can't be 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Like, you need to let us know when that happens because who knows, what happens if we didn't want to do it? That would have been the end of it. You just assume that we wanted it. You don't know if, we wanted to do something else or we're done. So that's kind of got me into the mentality of thinking, okay, I got to have a contingency plan then. I got to have something ready because then that's messed up. Like I said to the fans, like you dedicated all this time, 3.5 years to us, and we're just going to leave you like that. Like, no, we got to give you something then. So that's the whole reason why I have these little backup plans, a backup of a backup plan in case, anybody would decide to quit, which now with me, I don't think I'm going to quit anytime soon. I'm going to be like 65 still fucking around.
Did that have to, that contingency, is that a little bit with having the network going and having those other podcasts kind of jumping on board? Mm-hmm. Because it's a cool idea to have, there's other networks that I've seen where it's like, yeah, there's a whole bunch of different podcasts that they upload on YouTube and it's not really, that you don't feel that connection. Like you don't feel like it's a network. Like no one does each other's shows. No one ever interacts with each other. Whereas for you guys, like you're always, doing an episode with Lady Instincts or you guys jump on there or, you're on the Boom Boom Room, which still got to do theirs.
Shout out to them.
I ranked on them because I had COVID, so I had a good excuse. But the only time I ever didn't do a podcast was crazy. But yeah, like it's a good idea to have you guys doing it because you guys actually feel like a family, like a group, like an actual network.
That was the whole purpose of doing it. Like I think the fact that it ended up being all family members was just kind of like, okay, like I didn't think Miss Cass wanted to do a podcast. I didn't think it. To me, the objective was always like, okay, we're gonna do this network. Mr. Lou, you have your own show. Escaleto, you have your own show. I have my own show. We end up meeting up to do Rambling. It was going to be like that. And of course, my plan was going to be to reach out to podcasters that wanted to join us, that were kind of like-minded like ourselves. And it was only until Lady Instincts came in and I was like, you know what? Okay, cool. Let's have fun. Let's be something. Because you're right. If you look at any other network, and that's not me shitting on nobody, but you don't notice that kind of like camaraderie amongst each other. It's kind of more like, oh, just use my platform. That's cool. Like you said, I'll jump on Lady Instincts. Lady Instinct will jump on our show. I've done Boom Boom Room. Boom Boom Room's done my stuff. I know Boomer Room and Lady Instincts are thinking about doing something together too. We're all jumping amongst each other. We're all helping. We're all seeking the same thing, helping each other out, advancing ourselves in this podcast. I don't even want to call it game because it's not a game. This podcast world, advancing ourselves in this podcast world, and whether we be a level 1 to a level 10 doesn't matter. It's just advancing, because if one of them succeed, we all succeed, because we all helped each other get there. That's kind of the mentality we got.
Yeah, and that's what I feel, and that's what's good, is that you're not faking it. You're not faking the funk, where it's like you're speaking on it, and you can actually see it, you could hear it. And just to give you an idea, because this is something that I've always wanted to do with, if I were to ever have a network, or if I ever had a group of podcasters that were really close to each other, is for April Fools, you each host each other's podcast. So like you're the host of the Lady Instincts. Lady Instincts hosts, Boom Boom Room hosts Rambling, and you don't say anything. You just post it, upload it, and then just see what happens. Because that's like the awesome. That's like the best April Fools type of thing, where it's like, all right, listen to Ramble, press play, and you're like, whoa, what?
Did I download the wrong episode?
Yeah, and then at the same time, it's like you get to introduce yourself to their listeners, who, yes, at the same time you jump in on their podcast, you introduce yourself there, but at the same time you're devoting, like, all right, you're getting a little taste of what Rambling Alcoholics is actually like.
Oof.
So it's pretty cool. I would say you guys do that for April Fools or something.
That's not a bad. Well, originally we were supposed to do it, and I don't know why we didn't do it at the end of the year. We were supposed to do an all Spanish episode, Rambling Alcoholics Spanish.
Damn, that'll be interesting.
It was interesting because it was going to be hard. Like, how long can we maintain speaking just pure Spanish?
It would turn into Spanglish.
Exactly.
You should just put Spanglish podcast. Yeah, Spanglish.
So to us, it was like, because we and your sister was there. And when we talked about it, and she was like, "That doesn't sound that bad of an idea." And I go, "Yeah, right. We just speak Spanish the whole night." Well, we try to, because I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I know Spanish 100%, but English slips in there. So I was like, it's not a bad, interesting episode, especially with the drinks coming in. You're gonna Spanglish the fuck out of it. You're gonna make up some fucking word.
Yeah, and that's a cool idea. I would actually really be into it and listening to, what that would sound like. So for the podcast, for your podcast, I know you do Rambling Alcoholics. Mm-hmm. You do the Two Utes that you're kind of on the little hiatus for, and then you have the I'm drawing a blank on the one that you do with Boom.
We do Geek In, Geek Out.
There you go, Geek In, Geek Out. So how do you go about scheduling all those? Because at the same time, like, I do the kickback on Tuesdays. These I do during the week, and then I'll upload it the following Monday. So it's not too bad. Mm-hmm. So like today is Thursday. So this will be up on Monday. It's not too crazy of a thing. Yeah. So at the most, I'm doing like 2 podcasts a week. I don't know about you. You could, at the most, you could probably be doing 3, maybe 4 sometimes. Who knows? How does that scheduling go?
So I do also the boxing one, which is like, we've been on a hiatus because of boxing. So we do JMB Boxing Podcast. We do Geek In, Geek Out. And I do Rambling Alcoholics. That's 3 shows. And that's not including if I get asked to do other shows like yourself, like your show right now. So basically how it works, when I talk to Penny, Tuesday. So Tuesday, Monday is my day off. Monday is my whole day off. Tuesday, I do Geek In, Geek Out. Me and him will edit it on Wednesday to be out Thursday. Two Utes is usually scheduled for Wednesdays. It's always going to be a Wednesday episode for us to be out for Thursday. Thursday, I do JMB Boxing Podcast to be out Friday, and then I do Rambling on Friday to be out Saturday. And that's not included where I have to like also then help out Mr. Lou with some content for his Mr. Lou's music and movie reviews. Or if Miss Cass has a question about her show, I gotta go, talk to her on the phone and be like, all right, let's do this, let's do that. So I'm also got my hands in everybody else's stuff. So I'm literally spread out during the whole week. Like, when someone puts the moniker the hardest working podcaster, I'm spreading myself out, doing 3 different contents, not including 2 other contents in the background where I'm not even part of the show, but I'm just, giving my 2 cents in. And at the same time running the half running, because everybody who knows knows us. Esqueleto runs the memes. I run the promo on Rambling. Um, Me, Esqueleto, and Penny run Geek In Geek Out, and then me and my brother run J&B Ray Boxing Podcast. And then Rambling Network is mostly me and Miss Cass that run that. So it's that only just so it's running the Instagram pages plus the podcast plus the side podcast that I'm not even in it. So I'm like spread out thin the whole week.
Damn, man, that's a lot of work, and I know that that's the one thing that I not stay away from. Like I don't want to. I enjoy podcasting. Like if anyone were to ask me to like, hey, can you help me? Get started. Can you help me? Get this up and running. Hell yeah, man, let's do it. But at the same time, you have your personal life that you want to just sit back, enjoy it, do nothing sometimes. But yeah, I can. Yeah, when people say hardest working podcaster, it's up there. There's people who you don't know what they're doing. You don't know what's behind the scenes really. Like not everyone is always gonna go out and say everything that they do because you don't have to, and the work proves itself. But at the same time, yeah. At the same time, it's it's hard to just say like, I'm the hardest working podcaster ever. Like you don't know that. You can say it, you could feel it, which is good. Feel like you're the hardest working pod, like, and feel it, embrace it. But to title yourself that or to embrace yourself as that, good on you. But at the same time, you don't really know who else is putting in those hours as well. There's a lot of podcasts out there. You don't know.
Yeah, it's a lot. Like, and that's me learning from different shows. Like, I've learned a lot from your, being on your show and talking to you on the side. I've learned from talking to Dipso. Like, I've learned to talking to a different podcasting, what to do, what not to do. And like I said, doing all these shows and side shows, and also running the merchandise part of the Rambling Network. I got my hands on everything because to me, I love doing this shit. Like I said, this is not a hobby. A hobby is something you can do in this half-ass and then leave it there and then go out do something else and then come back. No, this is me dedicated 5, 6 days, 7 days a week, 24/7. Like I said, my wife sometimes goes like my wife literally has to plan around everything I do. Literally has to plan everything around everything. Like today, she was like, "Oh, do you want to go get something to eat? We can go drive to Fat Sal's in Hollywood." And I go, "No, I got an interview today." And she's like, "Oh," and I'm like, "But I should be done around this time. We can do something." And I'm like, "Oh wait, I got to do my boxing thing. Can we do it for Friday instead?" Like I have to. My wife has to work around my shit, and I love her to death because I don't know any other wife. I think anybody else would be like, "Bitch, you got to choose either the podcast or your wife," and I would choose my wife, but she knows how passionate I am and how much I've dedicated my time and my blood, sweat, and tears. Like you said, I don't have to brag about being the hardest working podcaster. I think the content alone and the work that we put in, I think people notice the work we put in on every show. Like better than anybody. You got to put a lot of work in doing what we're going to talk about, what we're going to do this, how you're going to structure the show. Whether people want to believe it or not, we do structure every show. It doesn't sound like it, but it's very structured the way we do it now. And I've learned it from you mostly, and most of the other stuff I learned from Penny from Boom Boom Room. I love the way he structures his shows. His show with Pichichi. I was like, I want to do that. So to me, I learned that, and I'm learning every time. Like to me, this is still a learning. I'm still on the job training. So me doing every show, I'm structuring everything, doing all the content, like figuring out what we're gonna talk about because I don't want it to be the same repetitive shit. Like how many times can I actually keep talking about this? That's why we stopped doing for a while. Like we put on a hiatus because how many times can I keep inviting the same person and ask them, "How's COVID treating you?"
Yeah.
It gets repetitive. Like how many times can you actually invite the same? It's almost inviting the same person over and over again.
Yeah, and everyone almost has the same answer, anyways.
So that's why we kind of like stopped. And we're talking. Me and Escalate are talking about bringing it back, but we're trying to reboot it in a sense right now. That's kind of the plan for 2020. Where we're gonna probably reboot 2 Utes.
It makes sense, but for your podcast or for any of the podcasts that you do, well, actually no, we'll stick with Rambling Alcoholics. Is there anything specific that you want to add to the show or add to the podcast, or something that maybe you want to do better, something you want to take away? Because there's always things that cross my mind. It's like, oh, we got to do this. Like this is something we need to add, or what, we take away this part or this or that. We're for the kickback, we're not really segment based. We have one segment, that's what's on tap. Other than that, it's literally like just a free for all. But for you guys, is there anything you want to add or take away, or something that you want to try and do with a podcast, or do you want to just things are running smoothly and you want to just keep it the same?
You mean like if it's not broken, why fix it? Take away. I can't think of anything off the bat that I want to take away. I mean, I think we're all running, and I think that we're in our podcast prime at this moment with the content we're producing. I think maybe when we notice the fall, we notice a dip, and we start noticing bad. I think when you start noticing more bad feedback, then that's something you got to start reviewing. But so far, it's been positive feedback, positive downloads. So I can't think of anything off the bat to be like, I want to take this away. Um, the one thing I want to improve is probably the seating arrangements. I mean, I'm in this I'm in this chair all for 2.5 hours. Well, actually three, because you got to count the break we take in the middle. For 3 hours, I kind of want to redo the room which we are right now. We're redoing the space here and make it more comfortable for when we have guests. For myself, we're trying to redo everything right now.
I feel you on that, because as I told you yesterday, I was like, oh, I'm working on the garage because I'm trying to make it YouTube friendly. If you could see the mess that is around me right now, that I literally just spread, I was like, all right, I need it to just be somewhat clean. It's a mess in here right now, but that's only because I'm trying to make it a little bit more comfortable for us, because eventually we're going to be having the kickback on YouTube. And we were really close to doing it, and because it was three of us, and three, it's a perfect little inside baseball. When there's three people, it's easy to set up a camera in a certain spot because you're going to have all three people in frame. Especially just a perfect amount of distance away from each other. We don't have to be too close. We don't have to be too far. With three people, perfect situation.
Mm-hmm.
When Jay decided to step away and I added two more people, I was like, oh fuck, we're going to be crammed in with four people. It's not going to look right. It's not going to feel comfortable. I was like, maybe I just push it back and figure out a way to have maybe multiple cameras, and then figure that out. And then I thought, all right, that's going to be more work to do after we finish the podcast. It's going to be more, post production type of stuff. I was like, damn, now I got to figure out this. I need to buy that. So I was like, shit, like one more person just fucked everything up. But at the same time, it made it so much more fun, because now it just gives me more things to do and gets me more excited to like do different things with it. So, if you, hopefully the next time you come, you're going to see somewhat of a difference. You'll see, hopefully, before we really didn't have any couches. We have like a whole bunch of like, like bar chairs type of thing that are really tall, but we're going to try and get, a couch, sofa in here just to make it more relaxed and comfortable, especially once we start getting guests in here. So I feel you on that one. That one, I feel you, because at the same time, like when you have a guest, you want them to feel comfortable. And sometimes you're sitting, especially if you're going to be sitting for 2 hours and bullshitting, and then on top of, hanging out before, hanging out after, you want it to be comfortable and just, chill and relax. So hopefully we get to that quickly and everyone will get to see it. Have you ever thought about, and this is something we've always talked about, have you ever thought about putting yourself on YouTube?
So I mean, that was something we are talking about, and that's not because after I heard you going, I'm up, kickbacks going to YouTube. I'm like, shit, they're gonna go on YouTube, and I'm like, should I go do it? My bad experience getting kicked out of YouTube, or like halfway into my shows, I'm like, okay, is YouTube gonna be able to handle the Rambling Alcoholics? That's one question. But exclusive, like I said, kickbacks usually been the source for exclusive stuff for Rambling. Yes, we're talking about doing YouTube. Is it going to be now? Is it going to be in a couple months? Tune in and see. What is it going to be? We noticed early on, people love pregame ramble. People love it. People love listening to our shit.
I enjoy it.
Exactly. People like rambling even after we ramble, which you can call it what, rambling after dark. I don't know. So I don't know. So so people enjoy it. So I know I've talked to Mr. Lou, and Mr. Lou, He's a filmmaker. As Mr. Lou's has talent and everything. So when I talked to Mr. Lou, like, hey, should we start filming shit?
So he's jack of all trades,
Jack
master of none, jack of all trades.
You said it, not me, sir.
No, Mr. Lou's gonna be like, whoa, what the fuck? I'm a master at everything.
Exactly, everything. But we are playing on YouTube, and I think the first thing we're gonna do is not the first thing. Right now, we're trying to work with Lady Instincts to get them on YouTube. That's the goal. Rambling Network, you get the YouTube exclusives. To us, YouTube is gonna be more of a platform to get the bonus exclusive. So, like, for example, to Utes, when we reboot it, it's not gonna be on the podcast platform. It's gonna be on a YouTube platform. Lady Instincts, she's thinking about doing bonus episodes as well too, or like special guests where she can't fit them in when she does a regular episode. YouTube. So that's what we're gonna do. And pregame ramble is gonna be that one thing. And you gave me an idea before we did the show how to do the YouTube and at the same time pregame ramble at the same time, so people can get the experience without depriving the Instagram viewers. I can do it also both ways. And also we're thinking about bringing back on people who listen to our boxing channel knows we used to do a fight, almost like a ripoff of Joe Rogan's Fight Companion. We called it Fight Talk, where we just be at a table drinking, watching fights, thinking like in actuality, if we were to get into a fight, we would do this. We all know we wouldn't. So we're gonna start doing almost like a fight talk on YouTube again. It'll be exclusive content only on YouTube. That'll be that's kind of the goal. That's kind of the thing, whether it be in the middle of the year or the end of the year. But that's the goal we're gonna do this year.
I really like that idea. And you know what's crazy is that YouTube is a whole nother beast. YouTube is something that, you know, I've always been interested in getting into, but at the same time I enjoyed the audio aspect of it. Because if you look at, let's say, our numbers on YouTube, 100% does not correlate with the numbers that we have on the audio side. And that's because, you know, I've really tried to tap into that audio audience that enjoys listening in the car, that, you know, on the way to work, on the way back home, you know, things like that. Now there's a different type of audience when it comes to YouTube, because they're the visual audience. They're the people that like to see things. They like to visually see, you know, something that's appealing, something that stands out. So it's a totally different type of audience. So, you know, jumping into this, you know, I'm noticing, hey, audio is doing fine. You know, audio, the numbers look fine. They look good. But, you know, you look at YouTube and you're like, fuck, like what? You know, there's not that many views because it's a different animal. And I feel like a lot of people get turned off, and they like to turn away, like, oh man, I don't like people seeing that I don't have that many views, and you know, it looks discouraging. And I've had those conversations with other podcasters, like, you know, and then you look at, you know, the audio numbers go down because, you know, some people switch to YouTube so they don't listen to the audio, and they just give all these excuses. But for me, it's like, you know what, fuck it. If I consistently have low, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm still having the same numbers that I would on audio, but I'm just not transitioning that into YouTube. And that's that new type of fire that you build under yourself is, you know, now I got to, you know, promote differently, because people are going to, I need to find a way to get people to go on YouTube and watch the show, as opposed to the people that are already listening. That's fine. I want to keep them, but I need to add, you know, something different. So it's always fun. And for other podcasters who might be listening, or anyone, just because you're on YouTube and you see low numbers, don't get discouraged. Don't get discouraged, because eventually hopefully you'll see a growth, and it doesn't come within 1, 2, 3 videos. You know, it's going to take time. You got to ride it out. You got to ride it out. And let's say a year from now and I'm still not having it. Fuck. Okay. Maybe I pull the plug. Maybe it just didn't work out, and the audio is just, that's my thing. But you don't just pull out after like a month or so, because you're not getting that full test, like, to see if that's really you or not, if that's really your type of platform. And everyone has a different platform. Everyone kind of dominates certain platforms. And, you know, there's some people who have good YouTube numbers, but not so good audio numbers. And, you know, it just happens. It's a thing. You just got to ride it out.
That's why, like, when I always try to think ahead. I always try to, like, I think I have, like, kind of, my mom kind of put it out there for me. you kind of have that hustler mentality. You always try to find a niche anywhere you can. That's why when Miss Cass was here this past weekend, we were like, okay, I want to do YouTube. I want you as a spearhead because you love being in the camera. She's very vocal. She's very also presentable in the camera. She'd be the spearhead for the whole Rambling Network on YouTube. But you just don't want, like, to me, I always find it kind of like, like when I saw Fighter and the Kid or Joe Rogan put their stuff audio wise, and then at the same, like, it would sync together, like podcast audio. So to me, it's like, I'd rather do like the extras. Like I would tune into Joe Rogan when he did Fight Companion because it's live. So to me, it's like, okay, cool. So we're gonna do pregame ramble exclusively on YouTube. Lady Instincts bonus interviews exclusively on YouTube. To youths, you wanna live physically look at our guests, YouTube, and that to me is kind of give us the different numbers from audio to visual, and then we'll see. And you're right, we're not gonna go down and be like, oh well, I didn't get that many views. Like I had a talk with the podcaster like a month ago. I'm not going to mention his name, but he hit me up going, I want to quit. I want to do this. I don't know. And I'm like, why? Because I'm not getting my numbers, dude. My Instagram numbers are low. And I'm like, how are your downloads? And he told me his downloads. And I'm like, dude, your downloads are fucking good. Like for someone that's been doing it for this short time, your downloads are here. But your Instagram followers are there. Fuck Instagram. You can have 300 followers on Instagram, but your fucking downloads can be like at 400 downloads a week. You're a fucking success, bro. That's to me a success. Like, people. I hate the comparison of like views to like popularity. Like, dude, like it's in a catch on sooner or later. It's in a roll in there.
Yeah, and that's the tough part, especially when you're getting into podcasting because everyone starts at zero. Everyone starts unless you're like some big famous celebrity that can just start a podcast and be like, all right, here we go, and we're starting now. It's different. It's tough to see, you put all this time and effort in and you see one and you're like, what the fuck? And I have been there, dude. I have been there from doing the hot corner on radio with, WPMD, looking at going back to like, hey, who listened live? One. And in my head, I'm like, I know who that one was. That was my fucking dad. And I'm like bummed out about it. And I'm, sad or pissed or annoyed. And then comes the validation. Then comes like, oh shit, for something small, it's like, oh, 10, oh, better than one. And then you kind of grow from there. And then 10 turns into 20 and 20 turns into 50 and 50 turns into, triple digits. And you're like, okay. And then, then there's times where it just stays there. And you're like, oh, there's no growth. We're not, what happened? It was going. And then it just dies down. And then that's when you kind of go into, that mode of just, all right, let me start pumping out, videos or giving you little taste here and there. And, really trying to get the Instagram going and giving that a better effort or a better try. And it is by far, people think, oh, I'm going to just talk, hit record, talk, upload, and then everyone's going to listen. I wish it worked that way. Oh, I pray that it worked that way. That every day I just upload an episode and never have to post anything ever again. Dude, obviously, I could do that right now because you'll have the subscribers that automatically are going to listen, but you're not going to get those new listeners in. And it sucks because it doesn't suck, but it's just that grind that you have to find. And that's where it comes into play, where it's like, oh, you really like doing this. You really enjoy podcasting because you're putting in all this effort of, Instagram, putting in a little tease here and there or doing the Instagram lives like you do. Everyone has their little thing to try and get more listeners, more followers. But there's those moments where you're just like, fuck, man, like no one's listening, no one's watching, no one's doing anything. And it can get annoying. You got to power through it.
I was like that in the beginning, dude. Like when I first put it up, I'm like, I would check every hour. How many downloads? And I remember we celebrated when we reached 10 downloads. Legit downloads. Like, I mean, because I would count like, okay, I downloaded, Escaleto downloaded, Titi Pichel, my wife. Okay, that's 4.
Yeah,
it's 14. Oh, fuck, we're a success. We got 10 legit downloads. And anybody who listens to like the first 77 episodes, it was celebrating every milestone. Like Escalator would be like, so where we're at on downloads, and I'm like, we're at fucking 30 downloads a week, brothers, and it'd be celebrating and celebrating, and then to the point where like, oh, like we stopped caring about numbers. Like I laugh it off when I got told you got to pick up your Instagram numbers, you got to get killer guests, you got to get motherfucker. I don't gotta do shit, dude. Like my content speaks for itself. I got a following. I got an army now. Who I was surprised that I got an army having my back, following me. I'm surprised. To me, like people could look at my Instagram numbers right now and be like, "Oh, he's not a success." No, I beg to differ. I'm actually a very good success. It to me, success depends on what you consider successful. What do you consider successful, bro? Like in my honest opinion,
Makes sense.
what do you consider?
Um, to be honest, it's relative, right? Everyone has their own idea of
Yeah.
success because you and I can think, oh, just having, let's say one day, like, oh, just having 10 listeners that's successful. I have 10 people who don't know who I am. Listen, that could be successful. But then there's other people who think about, no, I need thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of listeners. Yes, that's successful. But for me personally, success has nothing to do with numbers if that's not what you're looking for. Because for me, I do this because I enjoy talking to people that I, enjoy talking to, and I like interacting with the people who listen. So as long as there's always people, whether it's one, two, three, it doesn't matter. Whether there's people interacting with us on Instagram, letting us know how much they enjoy the podcast, or letting us know how much they enjoy this or that, or enjoyed this story, and it reminded them about their dad or brother, friend or whatever. I enjoy that. And I remember the one time I got someone who this was like maybe a little bit early on, who literally just messaged like, "Hey man, you guys remind me of my friend who passed away, who I've never talked to, or I haven't talked to ever since, like because of I forgot how they passed away, but they were talking about, oh, you just reminded me of my friend, and when I heard it, it reminded me of all the stories that we had, and all the moments that that we had together." And I was like, oh fuck, like that spoke to me. That felt good. And then people talking about, oh, you remind me of me and my cousins, or you remind me of this, you remind me of my friend. Like that's successful. I personally feel like if you're putting out something that makes, whether it doesn't matter amount, it makes people feel good for that hour, for that 2 hours, sometimes for us 3 hours, and that.
Yeah.
If you are getting those responses of you're making people feel good for that short amount of time, that's all that matters to me. For other people, it might be, I need 1 million followers, I need 1 million listeners. That is successful too. Fuck, that'd be nice. If someone told me, hey, you want 1 million followers? Fuck yeah, dude.
I mean, if you told me, hey, I can get you 1 million followers, I'd be like, fuck, where do I sign up? But to me, success is happiness, bro. Like, I'm happy with what I do. I love fucking rambling with my brothers. I love rambling. I love fucking doing the boxing stuff. Like, I do shit that's passionate for me. And it transcends outside to the fact where you, like you just said, you got people hitting you up saying, you remind me of this. Oh, you remind me of that. Like, I've had those DMs where I had someone goes, dude, you guys talking especially during COVID, reminded me being in the breweries with my bros, shooting the shit, listening to good music. Like Mr. Lou incorporated the music into the show, and it's worked. I hated it. Now I love it because when I get DM going, dude, I love listening to your shit because it reminds me of being at the breweries, listening to the music, just shooting the shit, talking about whatever the fuck it is. That's successful to me. When I got someone that can relate to what the fuck I'm doing, they can literally someone for 2.5 hours. I was able to reach out through their phones, through their Alexis, whatever the fuck listening provider they use. I'm able to reach out and grab their souls and be like, you can relate to what I'm doing. That's success to me. Of course, I want the million. Of course, I love the fucking sponsorship deals. I love all that. That's going to come later. This is what I love right now. This is success to me. Not the numbers. I think I was watching The Undertaker with Joe Rogan, but prior to that, I was watching Undertaker other interviews, and it was Undertaker was talking about his WrestleMania streak, and he goes, when you start focusing on the streak, is when you're going to lose. When you start focusing on the one. So to me, when you start, and this is advice I give other podcasters, when you focus on your numbers on Instagram and you focus on your numbers on downloads, that's when you're going to fail because you're not finding your true voice. You're just focusing on a fucking number. Focus on your voice. Focus on the content that you want to give your audience. You do that, believe me, they'll come flocking to you. I mean, if I'm wrong, correct me, but that's what I believe. Like they'll come.
Without a doubt, I agree 100% with what you're saying, and that's all. That's all it is. It's just it's all relative. You know, some people have different ideas of what success is, and other people have a complete opposite, a whole different side of it. But before we wrap up, before we finish off here, the other night we were talking about on the kickback, we were talking about fishing and talking about how we've never gone fishing, and the one time I went fishing. I was in the Amazon with a fucking little stick and a piece of floss, and that's all I did. So I really never have gone fishing. But Abe, my co-host, told me the next time you have anybody on Kicking Back with Chris, ask them if they've gone fishing or if they can give you any advice. So, putting you on the spot, have you ever gone fishing? And is there any advice you can give us?
I've gone fishing, yes. And my advice: pack the cooler full of beer.
Yes.
Because you're going to be there, because you're not going to catch fish in the first 15 minutes, not the first hour, not the first 2 hours. It might take a couple hours. So pack some beer. At best, pack a bottle of fucking wine while you're at it, because you're going to be there for a while. Unless, unless you bought some good bait, you're going to catch a good fish. Other than that, just enjoy the time. Like I went tube fishing. So basically I was in the tube just fucking fishing, had my cooler next to me, and I was just popping some beers in Oregon.
Sounds pretty dope.
I got fucked up. I was good. And I slept in a tent.
Did you catch anything?
Fucking weeds and shit, but that's all I got. I didn't catch it. I probably did. I kind of dozed off. Like I was like I said, in the tube with the cooler next to me, you're going to knock out, dude. I may have felt a tug or two, but I probably lost it. But to me, some good tunes and a bucket full of good booze, you got a good time fishing.
I could see that.
I like the tranquility of fishing. To me, the tranquility. If I catch something, I love to catch something. Believe me, even if it's a small little piece of shit fish, I'll be like, "Oh fuck, I caught it." Or if it's a big one, be like, gangster pose and shit. I love it. But to me, the tranquility of fishing, I love it. Like prior to COVID, every summer we'd go to Oregon and we go fishing. So to me, I just love the tranquility.
Okay. Yeah, I might have to be a little high for this then. To just sit back and then I could just sit there all fucking day.
Before we wrap up, I gotta tell you, I took an edible, and I don't know if people noticed it. A couple of pregame rambles ago, I was high on an edible.
Damn! Wait, and this is you. You told me that you hadn't done any weed or anything in such a long time, and you did say if you were ever gonna smoke weed, or just get high in general, it would be with an edible.
Okay, so shout out to Quality Over Quantity. They send me some product. They send me some gummy bears, and they gave me like 5, and I took all 5 at once. Like I was supposed to share with this because I took all 5 at once.
How many was the milligrams?
I didn't read. I don't read labels, bro. I just fucking took them.
You're fucking crazy, dude.
I was tripping balls, and this was during the weekend. My wife went out of town. So I'm out there saying, "Hey, ladies, I'm single, ready to mingle. If y'all want to fuck around." I'm like total fucking savage mode. It's on a pregame ramble, dude. Like I was tripping balls for like 4 hours.
And who did you say helped you out with that or gave you the
Quantity Over Quality? Check them out on Instagram, bro. Like my wife's grandma
quantity over quality.
She orders a CBD cream for her fucking arthritis. That shit works. I use it for my fucking thing, especially right now with my workout, because I'm starting to incorporate workout with my keto. It's helping my back a lot. So I mean, it's a free plug. I don't sponsor them. They don't sponsor me. And Quality Over Quantity. Go check him out, man. He's a fucking straight up brown brother from Connecticut selling some weed, man. He's like the Tony Montana of Connecticut right now.
Dang, I gotta check that out.
Check him out, bro. Check him out.
Yeah, because Yeah, the next time we do it, the next time I jump on over there, the next time you come over,
Ooh,
you
gotta do it, bro.
definitely. Well, maybe if whether I have edibles or smoke or whatever you want to do,
I'll smoke with you.
I'll try.
I'll
There it
smoke.
is.
I'll smoke with you. 2021. I gotta smoke. I gotta smoke a blunt. I
There it
haven't
is.
I haven't smoked weed since 2005. I'll smoke a blunt with you.
Damn,
I
there it
got,
is.
I got little baby bitch lungs. I'll smoke with you, bro. I'll smoke with you.
There it is. So the next time, if I'm ever over there in studio, or if you're ever over here in studio, then we will definitely smoke and get high and press record and see what happens.
Real quick, can I plug real quick the projects we got coming out right now?
I was about to say before we end, plug everything and anything you want. Instagram, podcast shows. You know, you want to plug, amazing wife that you have, plug
I
away.
got an amazing wife. She's sexy as fuck, and we're about to go bang in Vegas this weekend. So, well, when this comes out on Monday, I've already banged her. So Mr. Lou comes out with a new album in February. So everyone, we're gonna be promoting the fuck out of it. This will be the first ever like rambling record. Mr. Lou's composed it, produced it, done everything himself. So I didn't have time to do it here, but we'll probably talk about it like later on our show. And if you get a chance, Mr. Lou will do it too. Mr. Lou's coming out with an album pretty soon. Don't forget to listen to the Rambling Alcoholics podcast. We got new content coming out every fucking week, except for this week because I'm going to Vegas. Geek and Geek Out. We're coming back. We took a small little hiatus, but we're kind of letting the geek news fester enough that we have enough content to give you guys. JMBA Boxing Podcast. We're coming. We got big ass fucking boxing news. We got some killer guests coming. I'm sorry, air quotes. Killer guests coming to the show now on the box.
Yeah, you gotta pay for that.
I gotta pay for that. Air quotes. A Lady Instincts podcast. Go check them out. They got some big shit coming down the line right now. Cass and my wife, who you just guys saw crawl over. They got some big stuff coming through. And Boom Boom Room Storytime podcast. Savage motherfuckers I've ever met. I love them to death. Listen to their show, dude. We got a lot of stuff coming this year. Like 2021, I'm telling you, YouTube's gonna be the exclusive stuff for all the stuff the Rambling Network is gonna come out with. I've always said it's always quality over quantity. This 2021 is gonna be the prime example of it. It's gonna be quality, not quantity. We're not gonna fucking oversaturate you guys. It's quality. We're gonna give you guys quality 2021. Voyage of fuckery.
I like it. I love it. And there you have it, folks. Whiskey J, the cult leader.
Buy some merch.
Go on their Instagram, go to all their links, listen to the episodes, buy some merch. And Whiskey J, thank you for coming on again.
Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
I can't wait to smoke with you and get high with you and Esqueleto. And I know Mr. Lou doesn't do that, but
fuck him. Don't worry about
it. We'll get him secondhand high.
You didn't even show the sanitizer. I gave you a sanitizer bottle.
Oh, I know, dude. That was the funniest part. I was dying laughing because I know it was funny because you did mention it. You were like, oh, because you got COVID, I'm gonna give you some hand sanitizer, and you slapped a sticker on it, and I was like,
I'm always branding,
dude. I was dying laughing, dude. It was the best. So thank you again for that, and I can't wait to jump back on with you guys and ramble the fuck on. Oh, come on. Now I was on twice 2020. Now I'm going to have to up my game.
Ooh.
And I'm going to have to cuz now that everybody knows that this is the prize to win.
I got people wanting to come on this.
I was going to say now that everybody knows that, Rambling Alcoholics puts out with the sick ass guest of the year prize. Now I'm gonna have to up my game, and that's why I'm gonna be coming in
defending
with that THC and trying to get you guys crossfaded out of your mind to give your listeners a different experience and give you kind of like that's our thing in the kickback. We'll get a little high. If you listen to our early episodes, I've been a little faded on some of these episodes, so it'll be fun. I can't wait to defend my title. I'm going to be a 2-time champ, hopefully. Damn, I'm going to try to go to another one of the podcasts for the network. I'm going to be doing everybody's podcast.
Do it, bro. Hey, it was trying to get defended, and you dethroned the champ. So there's already a streak going around that the defending champ doesn't win.
Oh, that's gonna be squashed because I'm gonna win again.
All right.
I'm gonna be like the Lakers back in 2000 where they got a 3-peat going.
All right.
So we'll see how that goes. So, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate everyone for listening. Cheers. And I hope you guys enjoy your week or whatever you're listening to this. Enjoy your day, your night, and have a good one.